We're back.
Hi.
Yellow. Today we're going to talk about what we wish we knew before starting IB. Because I know that for a lot of you, IB is starting next year.
A lot of you, okay, from our experience, a lot of people have been touring our school and taking the interviews at this time of year for it to start in a couple months from now.
So what is like most board exams would have finished by now. You'll be waiting for your results, like if you're in an Indian board. And before you start your 3-month long vacation, I always wondered what to do because I was panicking because I didn't know anything about the new board. And there are some things that I wish I knew before I started.
We'll just start off the video with the first point being research skills.
So in my board, we used to have projects where like for 9th and 10th, where we had to do some amount of research. But it was never like as structured as IB, and we were never fully taught how to do the research. But again, that's like a school thing, I guess. But either way, I used to use AI. I didn't use it correctly because at one point I just put the prompt and I wasn't happy with it, so I had to redo everything. So first thing I learned when I came here is like how to use it properly and take good credible sources.
Wait, so you put a prompt in. You weren't happy with it, so instead of refining the prompt, you just started over?
No, see, I didn't know exactly how to refine the prompt, okay? Because our essays used to be more like analyze this, we had Shakespeare, we had Merchant of Venice.
To be or not to be?
2024 batch.
To be or not to be?
That is not, that's not a movie. So we had a question, from that we had to analyze and do, but we weren't like fully, I didn't know how to make the AI analyze, and turns out you cannot, you have to do that on your own, as proven by IB English,
No
so
shit.
give up on that. But yeah, so to like give a proper prompt, I had to like learn that.
I mean, yeah, prompt engineering is something you have to pick up if you want to use AI effectively. Because if you just take the the assignment prompt, like question, and put it into ChatGPT, it's not going to give you a good response, of course, because it doesn't know the context behind it, it doesn't know what it's for, it doesn't know how your teacher has taught it. So what I try to do is, I try to write it in an essay as the prompt itself. So like a 200 to 300 word prompt describing what is this for, what grade I'm in, what we studied before, and what my teacher expects me to be, and the criteria for the marking. And then I ask them to give me an outline rather than an actual essay. So I can tweak it a bit. Tweak it. So yeah, I tweak it a bit, and then I finally write the essay by myself with some input from AI, but not using the plagiarizing AI.
And one thing is, I try to never use AI for things that I have to write using some level of creativity. Like for English, TOK sometimes, and because see, sometimes you need that research to be able to write it. But the prompt is more to help you find out something that you're interested in. Like suppose if I had to write about
In English.
bulbs, what? Bulbs. Let's
Bulbs.
talk about bulbs. If I had to write about bulbs, I'm not
Bulb.
going to go to the AI and be like, describe the bulb to me, which is just, that doesn't work. So you can be like, show me different bulbs, how they've evolved, or like how bulbs were invented or something.
Thomas Edison.
And then write the thing based on the information that was given to me. So it's better to use for like structuring your points than for writing the entire essay. But again, this is a lot about essay writing. But going back to research skills, the same thing with research. Now, like I said, the bulb thing, you research about the bulb, you try to understand why, according to you, do you care about the history of the bulb, or do you care about how a bulb works? Do you care about the physics aspect of it? Go to the prompt, be like, so this is what I want to know about this bulb, and always ask it to cite from which website it took that information. And there are some things that we are not allowed to use Wikipedia, and usually, so when I'm writing it, I say do not use Wikipedia, do not use those sources, and it will cite those particular sources. You can go read it there and like confirm that this is what you want to write. So
I mean, instead of that, I feel like you take the thing ChatGPT gives you, you Google it, and then normally the first 2 or 3 results are about that topic with that exact verbatim. So you can read that part itself, and even Wikipedia. If it uses Wikipedia, what I do is I go to the Wikipedia page, look at the part where it's cited from, and then I look at the source of Wikipedia, because those are pretty accurate, but a lot of them are archives. So using archives is pretty underrated, I feel like, because it gives you a different perspective and shit. And Minecraft example, there's this uncensored library. It's basically an archive of a sort, because in some countries you cannot access those specific books. It gives you a whole new perspective, and it gives you access to things that you wouldn't have thought of were possible.
Okay, something about research papers. Now, again, we were told strictly in business management, this applies to all subjects, that if you're doing a research paper, like if you're reading any research paper, make sure it is peer reviewed. So mostly research papers published by universities or anything that is published by an official page, articles that are published by credible sources, unbiased sources, so, things like that. And you have to recheck that all the time, because see, even if you don't get caught or whatever, you're not doing that because of that. You want your work to be as good quality as possible. So the person who's correcting your paper or anybody who's reading it will always be like, okay, this person knows what they're doing, they know what they're talking about. So so always, if you're using research papers, make sure they're peer reviewed. If you're using anything other source of information, again, make sure that it's coming from very official sources. Anything that's like .org or anything that's coming from newspapers, like maybe Time.
BBC and stuff.
Yeah.
But even if you take news sources, you have to again verify they're not biased, because I'm pretty sure newspapers like somewhat biased according to
unless they ask for stuff with opinion columns where they want to know what people think about that particular topic.
No, even then some newspapers they can change the facts, sort of manipulating statistics. Like if you give an example of manipulating statistics, we interviewed 100 people who played Russian roulette and everyone said it's a great game. That's obviously biased.
Because good point.
Yeah, so some newspapers, I'm not going to take names, but our teachers have told us some newspapers that are biased and we cannot take sources from them because of the extreme leftism or extreme rightism.
And okay, again, for formatting in each subject it will be different. How you have to format and what kind of points you want to put. For math would not be the same as what you'd put for English, obviously. So if it's for math, what we've been told is that we figure out the math part first, like what we're going into, how much working is there involved in that, what kind of topics that we will be exploring along with it. Then build the structure of the essay, how it's useful in the real world and everything based off of that math. So there'll be a core
math aspect to it.
Yeah, the core concept that you should know, and around that you build the rest of it, how you want to go about it. And once you have a little bit of an idea of how you're going to go about it, then you can form a perfect research question.
And when you're actually writing the paper, if for example, if it's English, starting out in IB, the number one complaint I got from my English teacher was my depth of analysis. It was not deep enough. It was never deep enough.
That's what she said.
So what I learned to do was, instead of just getting a point and writing that point, I would ask why.
Basically analyze the consequences of that particular thing.
The consequences of your own actions.
We have a philosopher here, guys.
Exactly. See, the TOK is getting to me. Yeah.
So, that is something you will have to do. The minute you set foot into IB, the minute you sit in the first TOK class, they start with knowledge and knower, and then you'll have to start asking questions for everything and trying to get everything from your perspective. But it's very important that in those classes you pay attention to other people's perspective, because there will be things that you won't know that other people will be doing.
One of our teachers was in a class about knowledge and religion, every single time someone came up with a point, she would ask why.
No, have you seen those 5-year-old cousins that annoy you? I mean, I'm not saying that she was annoying, but
peak IB student. That's a peak IB student right there.
Have you seen those kids come up to be like, why? So it's like that. You basically keep doing that until you reach some sort of conclusion. This is apparently this does have a name. I think it's called Socratic questioning. Yeah. Basically,
mitosis.
You keep asking a series of questions until you come to what you think is the most natural answer. So that works in TOK, it works in English, and what else? What other?
History.
Huh,
IB office history.
we don't take it, but then probably in history. Then with essays, it's mostly like a lot of practice, and I
Yeah.
don't practice.
Same.
So even as SL students, if you like, our teacher asks us to write a lot of introductions, but even as that, to structure and practice like again and again and analyze on your own, that's very like, it's very important, because something about essays is that you can't do it like last minute.
Yeah, you have to know how to write the essay, especially the structure of the essay. Like when you first start writing, and in CBSE, I'll take an example. The longest essays we had were like 120 to 150 words. And the only times we went beyond that was through external competitions where I had to write 500 to 700 words. But even that's not acceptable in IB. You have to write 1200 to 1500 words per essay. So yeah, the structure of the essay is very important. Having the intro paragraph with this specific structure of what context, this target audience, all of that. And then each body para has to have a different structure.
Okay, so and the only problem you will face with this is because, so again, I always had a problem of writing too much, which I know it doesn't sound like a problem, but like ranting and rambling is not okay. So basically, why I say is that you can't do it last minute is because once you write the essay, you'll have to show it to your teacher, and she will tell you why or why not it's good. In the first 3 months, especially, like I had to do that over and over again, and my teacher wasn't fully satisfied with me. But if I do compare it a little bit with what I've done before, it's much better.
Yeah, the improvement is actually crazy.
And what is that? She used to say that with IB, always the first quarter test, everyone does well, and second quarter test, everyone does really bad, and from third quarter, they pick up. So we'll see.